All right, what is up, peeps? Coach Kev here with my good friend Frank Meister, and we're going to talk about the murder of Tupac Shakur tonight. Hopefully, we have Charles joining us too at some point. These are guys that I talk to, especially Frank, back and forth with the stuff. We'll get into it, but every time Keef D does an interview, he'll text me and like,
Oh
"Did you hear
boy.
what this dude said this time?" But yeah, but just in general stuff, and I'll show you a couple pictures, show you how the people were seated in a car from what we were pretty sure of. The arrest was made. And then, Frank, did you see that? I'm sure you have that the trial's now delayed till next February.
Well, of
Keefe
course.
D's trial. Did you see that?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me whatsoever because we all know how the judicial system works. They'll continue until they run out of continuances, and it usually runs about a year to 2 years after they've been arrested. So,
Well, you're glitching up there a little bit. Yeah, in case I just wanted to say that in case everyone didn't know, Keefe D's been arrested. We'll get into that, but that trial's been delayed, so we're not going to talk really a whole lot about that. Say hi to Jill Moser. Good to see you. Melissa. JJ, I don't know if you're a Michigan or Michigan State fan, but Frank made fun of me already, but I got my crystal on. You got to support your team when they get their butt kicked, especially, and it's Tom Izzo. So
it's all about me. This right now for me. The Cubs.
Like we were talking before, and he was saying that Cubs are doing good. My Pirates, whatever, they're 1-0. They'll never be above 500 again, probably until the 2030s after the spring training. But it's good that hopefully spring's on the way. So we got a bunch of people jumping in, interested in Tupac. Anytime you guys want to ask questions or anything, Frank's really versed on this too. I'm just going to give a little bit of background on Tupac himself if people didn't know, and then we're just going to jump into, what led up to it that night. And Frank knows a lot on this topic too. So Tupac was obviously a rapper. He was a poet. He was a movie star.
A philosopher.
Yeah. His mother was really big with the Black Panthers, so he grew up with that rebel kind of like challenge authority thing, which I always liked about him. And Tupac went to prison for it was like an essay type thing where all counts now, it didn't sound like other people did something and he was in another room and he had relations with the girl maybe once before, but it sounded like it was probably going to be BS. And I'm sure you know this, Frank, Suge Knight was able to get to him and he actually bailed him out of jail. It wasn't like the case was dropped.
Right, $1 million bond.
Yeah. And then, they had talked and, he knew Tupac was hot and he was good. And I've heard this, Frank. I don't know if you've heard it or not, if it's true. But when he left jail, they picked him up in a limo or some kind of nice ride and took him right to the studio.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yep.
So it's like he wanted to get started.
He had an agreement with Suge Knight. If I bail you out, you've got to at least do 3 albums with my record label.
And they took him out of jail and took him right to the studio.
Yeah, and that's when he came out with Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah. Oh, Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah.
The quintessential diss song. I know the younger people, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Hit 'Em Up there was no question. Who's he talking about? Sometimes rappers will diss and you don't know. He's talking about everybody, explicit by name. So,
but it was more directed at Biggie than anything.
Yeah, it was Biggie. Biggie was the main target, and anyone that was like around Biggie or maybe supported Biggie a little bit
right.
They got blasted too. But yeah, Biggie thought about having sex with Faith, his wife. There was one song where Biggie responded, and it was with Jay-Z, if you remember. I think it was Brooklyn's Finest. If Faith have twins, she'll probably have 2 Pacs. Get it? 2 Pacs. So it was going back and forth. It's a shame because they were both super talented. They were kids. They were 24, 25-year-old. They were kids. Yeah. We look back now, it seems like they were older, but
we were their age. I was their age when they were murdered.
See, they were just a little bit older than me, but that was the music, when that happened, 1996 and early 1997. I graduated in 97 when Biggie died. And it's these guys were super important. And this was before days of the internet, so you'd get the tape or maybe the CD and you'd sit and you just read through it. They'd get magazines, you get the source or whatever, and that's how you had a look, and you would read those things over and over.
Yeah, there was four actually that I listened to back then faithfully. It was Tupac, Biggie, Dre, and Snoop Dogg.
Brandon, thank you. If you lived in McKeesport, take your vote, McKeesport School District. Yeah. Snoop, I remember when I was in ninth grade when Doggy Style came out, when it was a tape. We had a tape, and I was like, whoa.
That was the year that he got arrested for murder. And that's what the song
Murder Was the Case.
Yes.
Yeah. Now it's a cool video. It's like one of them long, short movies that Murder Was the Case, if you ever saw that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, check all this stuff out, guys, too. Oh, and before I forget, me and Frank were talking about this before. At 9 o'clock, Hidden True Crime is going to have an interview with Becky Patty. I think it's recorded, but I'm not sure. But usually when they do recorded interviews, they'll be in the chat, Lauren and her husband. So highly anticipate, look forward to that. Anytime Becky talks, I want to listen. One of the strongest human beings I've ever met, had the pleasure of meeting or know about. So I know Frank feels the same way. He's the body armor for the family. They shoot their bullets and Frank lets it hit him. And I envy him for doing that. A great job. So you got a Tupac. When Tupac comes out, he's affiliated with Suge Knight. Suge Knight's affiliated with the Mob Piru. Those are Bloods, okay? Mm-hmm. It's a street, or it's an area. I think it's a street out there where Piru comes from, but they were the Reds. So if anybody's not into gangbang, I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial. Keef D, who we'll talk about, was with the Crips. They were blue, the Southside Compton Crips. And Puffy would use them for security. If you would, he'd give them a bunch of tickets. So like 60 Crips would walk up to a concert and then like they were friends with them or whatever. And then maybe we'll do a show about Biggie sometime. I don't know if you've heard the rumors, Frank, that some people have said that Biggie was killed over a debt to the Southside Crips that he didn't want to pay for security. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard anything of that.
Heard that. Yeah. We'll have to do a show about him too.
It's always been said that Suge Knight had Biggie killed because he believed that Tupac was killed by the people of Puffy and Biggie and all them at that time. That's what they were talking about. And then all of a sudden you got Keef D, loose lips, Keef D Davis, couldn't shut up for all them years.
Look at that comment, Frank.
I see.
I love when cops have a sense of humor. Ruckus, good to see. Good to see everybody in the chat, too. I'll pop back up here in a few and see if anyone has any questions. But so anyways, Tupac's with the Bloods, Puffy and Biggie are with the Crips. And so let me show you, let me cover a couple things first with Frank. Then I want to show you a picture of the car, how we think the shooting car was sitting. But that night they go out to a fight. It's Selden. I think his name was Bruce Selden versus Tyson.
Yep.
1996, Tyson beats the bejesus out of this poor guy.
The first round.
And it was Tyson. That's why Tyson fights were such an event. What do you want to watch a fight for the last 30 seconds? Because it's like, holy shit. How could somebody be this strong? And that Tyson and
he had just got out of prison too.
Oh yeah, so I don't know if that was he had the big Days of Grace tattoo or whatever done in prison. Like
he turned Muslim. He turned Muslim on everybody,
and he was absolutely ripped. And he just destroyed this poor man. I'm sure that guy was never the same. So later on, that they walk out of the fight, and previous to this happening, there was a kid named Trayvon Lane. Trayvon Lane was in a mall, and he had his chain snatched or attempted to be snatched or snatched. Frank could probably put more in on that than I can.
It was a death row medallion necklace that Suge Knight gave to all his people with death row. And the word is that Puffy would pay them $5,000 to steal it.
A bounty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's how this all came about with Tupac, Baby Lane, Keef D, and all of them over that damn medallion.
So if you don't know this, like I'm from the inner city, Frank's ran in some rough circles in his day. Jay-Z did the same thing. You'd get a chain. Someone gave you a chain. Like certain gangs would wear chains. If you watch some movies Paid in Full and stuff like that, you'll see that. So that was a big thing. You got this chain. And it wasn't the value of the chain necessarily if you took it and wanted to melt the gold down or whatever. It was the fact that, you got Suge gave this to you. This was death row. And to let everybody know hey, it's almost like the mafia. Like you were almost like a made person. If you fuck with me, you're fucking with Death Row. Not to quote
Right.
Dr. Dre, but so Orlando Anderson, who Frank mentioned, is Baby Lane is his nickname. So we have Trayvon Lane, who's with Suge Knight. He has the necklace. Baby Lane is Orlando Anderson. That's his nickname. He's Tupac's killer, we believe, the actual shooter. He snatches the chain in the mall. Fast forward a few months, I think it was. Maybe it wasn't even a few months. Do you know the difference of time between a chain snatching and a fight?
I think it was like 3 months.
So it was okay. It wasn't even like half a year. So it was still fresh.
Well,
okay.
Prior to all that happening, there was a club in Atlanta where Suge and his bodyguard were there with Puffy and his crew. And that intensified the whole thing as Puffy's dude shot Suge Knight's bodyguard and killed him.
Yeah,
and
Wolf.
Wolf. There you go.
Wolf was the shooter. I can't remember the name of the Suge's guy. Big Jake?
I can't remember his name either.
I don't know. There was a Big Jake that was around Suge. A lot of people around Suge got killed, but there was a Big Jake at some point that got killed. And I don't know if that was him or not, but Puffy had a guy, his nickname was Wolf, and he ended up dying too later. Yep. Like, all these people are dead. And it's I don't know.
They're all murdered. All of them have been murdered.
Yeah,
Every person.
Yeah. So anyways, we're up here, and in this, I'm going to show you the security videos. One of the first things I'm going to show you is a short version of it. I'm sure you've seen it before. We'll try to explain it as we go through it. But Trayvon Lane in this video, I'm not going to be able to stop at the exact point, but there's other shows. Vlad TV does stuff.
Well, he made enemies with people. Vlad did.
Yeah. Vlad actually had some like death threats and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And like, he's bringing you on his channel. He's not forcing you to talk. He's giving you a couple bucks, but if you want to go up there and admit to murders that you did or things that you did, isn't that kind of on you? Like, what are you mad at him for? I don't know. But he's getting millions of views on all the Tupac and Keef D stuff. But anyways, there's a lot of channels that have that. But they believe what happens is Trayvon Lane whispers in Tupac's ear, that's the guy that took my chain. So that's when you see Tupac doing the march. I'm going. He's with Mob Pyros. With the guys with them, they probably have 10 to 20 bodies between them. And here's little Tupac, the rapper. He's going to start the fight, try to kind of prove himself, I guess. Frank, would you think that was – we were talking about what we talked about before we came on about Tupac.
I think Tupac was just trying to have this facade as a gangster when he really wasn't a gangster. He was never initiated. Because when you get initiated to either the Bloods or the Crips, you either got to get a beat down or you got to commit a murder. Mm-hmm. Those are the two ways to get into these gangs. And see, I used to run with the Disciples back in the 90s, the ones out of Chicago. They used to come down to Indy all the time, and I'd run around with them, but I wasn't stupid enough to get initiated.
And there was issues too. Tupac had got a big mob tattoo. And one of the guys that interviews a lot, his name's Mob James. He was a big pyro. And
his brother was murdered too.
Yeah, his brother was murdered. Buntry.
Buntry.
According to Detective Greg Kading and Reggie Wright, who we'll talk about, Buntry actually returned fire at Keef D's car. But I guess they didn't hit them. But he returned fire during the Tupac shooting. But
you see, I never trusted Reggie White. I still to this day don't trust Reggie White.
I trust that because him and Kading both said it, that they both believe that neither were there. Reggie wasn't there. Remember, Reggie's at the club.
He was at the club.
642, whatever it was called.
662 or something like that, yeah.
So anyways, after the fight, they're planning to go to this club and everything like that. So that's why they're kind of scarce as far as bodyguards go. There's a car behind them. But let me show you two things first here. So let me do a present. I'm going to show you first the video. It's a real quick 2-minute video of Tupac and the surveillance camera from the MGM Hotel. By the way, this is at the MGM Hotel. We'll talk about Eric Von Zip.
Oh, yeah, Zip.
What a character Zip was, huh, Frank?
He's the supplier of the gun that killed Tupac, allegedly.
We don't want that. That's an interview. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. And I don't know if you remembered Foxy Brown. I remember her as a rapper. Very, very beautiful girl. She was a rapper. And supposedly they said that she was in the car with Zip, and Zip asked her to get out of the car.
Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching
Hold on a second.
Orlando Anderson.
I'm muting this.
And see, Suge Knight, he was an idiot because he tried to tell the police, "Oh, I was just trying to help him pull him off of Baby Lane." I said, "Dude, you're sitting there right there kicking him. You're right on damn camera, dude. Why would you tell the cops that?"
So have you heard?
And then you turn around and pay Baby Lane $50,000 to testify otherwise in court.
Yeah, so Suge, you're going to see Suge here. There's a couple guys in white. We'll do our best to identify, but Suge tries to say in court that he's helping break the fight up, which no one here is helping break the fight up. Now, what Mob James said, Frank, I don't know if you saw this, what Mob James said, what should have happened is as soon as Tupac started walking like that and Suge knew what was going on, someone should have grabbed Tupac and said, "We're going this way. These guys will handle their business."
Right. And you know what bothers me about this whole situation is that Baby Lane was there in the casino by himself. You never see that with the Crips.
The story why is that he and his uncle Keef D had tickets from a scalper, but they were apart. So they were supposed to meet at the food court. So Keef D says that someone comes running up and they're at the food, they're eating somewhere. And then he says, "Hey, they just, rushed Orlando or something," and then the guys leave their food and go over. But anyways, here's the video. I'll let it play. It's only an 18-second video, so I'll play it a couple times for you. This is the MGM Hotel, September 7th, 1996. There's Tupac to the far left. There's
Suge right there.
There's Suge trying to help him. There's Suge trying to help him up.
There's Suge. There he is right in the back.
Yeah. So
doing the curb stomp on his ass.
There's other videos, longer videos. If you want to watch, all you got to do is look up Tupac MGM footage. But Tupac's on his chain actually falls up. There's other angles and stuff, but you kind of get the idea. Then there's a bunch of videos of them walking out, and they're just like walking real fast, like
Right here, there you go.
Yeah.
Missed it.
We'll do it one more time. Yeah, that cuts off at the very end. I found this is the shortest one I can find. But that's on the ground.
Tupac right there. Tupac was kicking too.
He punched. He was the one that made the initial attack.
Yeah.
It was actually Tupac. Like we said, kind of trying to prove himself. And that's not a knock on Tupac, but let me come back over here and show you one other thing. That's not a knock on Tupac at all, but Tupac was a talented guy. God, he was probably too nice of a guy to do anything like this, and it was just kind of what it was. But he was in a world that he shouldn't have been in. All right, a second.
So I see a comment. There was a beef between Pac and Biggie. Technically, I mean, there was a beef because Pac believed that Biggie and Puffy set him up at the studio to get robbed and shot. And I don't think that ever was the case. Honestly, I don't.
Give me one more. I want to show you this picture here, and I guess I didn't send it. I'm going to email it to myself real quick. But anyways, as we start talking, there's a picture of the way the car was, who was sitting in the car. And we're going to get into that in 1 second. But I thought I sent this already. Here we go. I must have sent it to my other email. So give me 1 second. And again, we'll have you guys out of here between 8 and 8:30, probably closer to 8, so you can get situated, check out your Hidden True Crime interview. I like to keep everything about an hour anyway.
JJ Junior Johnson says Tyson was a rapist. Yes, it was during the black pageant here in Indianapolis. It was Desiree Washington. She claimed that he raped her in a hotel room.
Oh yeah. That's what he went away for, was Desiree Washington.
Yeah.
Okay, so now after the fight, everyone kind of spills out of there. Everyone, of course, gets away. They interview Orlando Anderson, Baby Lane, who he said he maybe hurt his shoulder area, but nothing like major, despite getting jumped. He wasn't like bleeding visibly or anything like that. And so everyone kind of skedaddles. Now, from watching interviews with different people, and like he said, I watch Reggie Wright too, and I enjoy his content, but it's hard to know what we can
trust.
Yeah,
what he says. I mean, think about it, man. Because Pac's bodyguard, I can't remember his name, the former cop, he died. He committed suicide. The big guy. What was his name? I can't think of his name right off of the hand, but he was saying that Reggie told them not to bring your weapons.
Yeah. There were some interesting things that led up to that. It really was.
Leave your weapons at home or at the hotel. And right there told me that something was a little bit fishy with that. Like Reggie knew what was getting ready to go, what was going to go down.
And the other thing too was, if you watch as they're talking, there were supposed to be like 3 bodyguards with Pac, but they weren't there. Pac had told one of the bodyguards to meet him at the MGM, and he told Reggie that, and they said, Reggie said, no, I need you at the club.
Right.
So Mob James, all the Mob Pyrus were at the club waiting for the after party. And it was almost like the Kennedy assassination. Like usually you have 20 guys, but today you're going to have 5. And that just so happens to be the day they get shot. So
they only had 2 vehicles that were tailing them for security.
Yeah. And then a couple of them, the bodyguard was driving like some of the outlaws, which was like Tupac's little group that he was like bringing up. They were like younger guys, Gaddafi and Idi Amin and those guys. And he was driving them. And then that was like the bodyguard guy. So it was Suge and Pac in the front, in the car, in the we got Necessary Evil coming in. We'll bring him in. What's up?
It was Frank Alexander, his bodyguard. Frank Alexander.
What's happening, Charles?
I greatly apologize to both you gentlemen and everybody in the chat. I apologize for being late. How's my audio sound?
I can hear you. Everyone hear Charles?
Good. All right, awesome. All right,
so
sweet.
We showed the surveillance video, so now we're going to be leaving the casino. And everyone's going to kind of go their separate ways after that. And from what I can gather from interviews that I've listened to from people, Pac and them leave, and they actually go to Suge's house, and Suge changes. He's there for about a half an hour, and then they leave from there.
Tupac went back to the hotel. Tupac went to the hotel because his girlfriend was at the hotel.
Tupac to the hotel.
I remember somebody went to a club.
Yeah, they were on their way there after. I don't know if there's some of the people almost certainly went. That's what we were talking about. His security was a little light because they had so many people. I think, was it 662 was the name of the club? Club 662?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Yeah, they were all there. And they were, they kind of had everybody there. So,
did you, I know that's, I don't mean to interrupt your summary. Did y'all tell them the weird rules that were given that night to the security guard?
Yeah, that's what I was telling him about earlier. I said, Reggie,
okay, gotcha.
Reggie was telling them not to take their weapons with them, and I'm thinking something's off with that. Why would you tell security detail for Tupac not to carry their weapons?
Yes, sir.
Unless you knew what was going down.
It always seemed fishy to me as well. I mean, well, everybody will find out the crazy stuff that's about to, or come later.
I mean, Frank Alexander, he made a big whiff about the whole situation. Why Reggie White was telling them, was telling them not to carry their weapons, and I'm like, man, I wouldn't have listened.
And it's so weird. It's so weird though, because he's one of the people they end up blaming later on, or at least trying to. But he was the one that was trying to get them to actually have guns and stuff.
And I think he had something to do with Biggie's murder with Poochie.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. I don't know if y'all want to go that in depth. We'd be here for a while.
We have to do another. Frank, we have to do another show for that. But I'm okay with doing that on Biggie. Right? I agree, Poochie too.
Because and that's on the possible third also case that's also involved that happened recently that's actually connected to all this too.
Yeah.
All right, so we're coming out. If Suge goes home, Pac goes to the room, and I assume Suge then goes just to Pac's hotel and picks him up and takes the little. Is there 3 cars at that point? Entourage.
Yes. The entourage. There was 3 vehicles.
And then once they get to the traffic light at East Flamingo and Koval Lane is where the shooting happens at. So I'm going to pull up a picture of what this is what I think. I can't speak for you guys. You guys can answer in a minute. What I think the layout of the car looked like as far as the shooters go.
And see, when you show this, I mean, I was skeptical about Baby Lane being the shooter because you had Big Dre sitting right next to him in the back seat at the window where the shots came from. What? But then I started thinking about it, and I did some searching on Big Dre. He was a big old pussy, according to the things I read. He was not a murderer whatsoever. So,
hold on 1 second. I'm going to make this big, this top part. I guess my picture format wasn't the best one.
I'm not even sure about the other three, but I know if I was going to give the chances of anybody killing him in that car, that would be the two that are related.
be the who?
The two that are actually related.
Oh, Keef and Baby Lane.
Yeah. Keef D and Orlando Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who we have?
He actually looks a lot like. Sorry.
But would you guys agree that these four guys were in the car that night?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So and then Keef D gives this in his book, and he's the guy sitting shotgun and arrested. So Keef D sitting shotgun in his car. He has basically priority over the car. You know, this is like a gang thing. He's riding shotgun. That's a position of respect. So he kind of outranks everybody here. Now, let's go back one little second, as we were talking, Charles, before, where there are quite a character that we'll talk about, Eric Zip Martin. So
the nightclub owner.
We'll talk about how he probably got the money to buy the nightclub too, which is kind of hilarious in a way. But Keef D, he tells Keef D, we have artillery out here, something to that effect per Keef D. He goes in, opens the passenger door, and in the passenger seat is rapper Foxy Brown. Rapper from the 90s, very beautiful woman. She gets out. Keef D gets in. He has a fake compartment in there, according to Keef D. He gets a gun. This is what we're going to do. It turns out the gun is a 40 caliber Glock 22. I hope I have that right. And then in the car, the Crips go into their white Cadillac. And from there, correct me if I'm wrong, they actually, according to Mob James and Keef D, they head to Club 662. And they want to hurt, they want to hurt somebody. They want to get the mob back. They're not necessarily, they don't care if it's Tupac. He's there with Mob Pyru. You hit a Southside Crip. We want to get you back. Mob James says he sees them there. Keef D says they're there. They sit for a while, and then nothing's going on. Then they leave, go get liquor, and plan to go to the room and drink. You guys agree with that part?
Yeah. And on their way down the strip, as they heard all the girls yelling, "There's Bob."
That's the part I was waiting on.
Yeah.
That's what they were waiting on.
Yeah. So if you see the movie, I don't know how the movie was okay for me, I guess, but like, the way Pac's out the window, that was Pac. Hey, girls, I had a couple with me, maybe smoked one. We're going to party. Let's go. And Keef D has said this, and Mob James has said this too. If Pac wasn't doing that, he might be alive today. They might not have seen him.
Right. I would have to agree.
Because they weren't looking for him at that moment. They went to 662 to try to hit him. Now they were going to something called the liquor barn, and they're getting a bunch of liquor, and they're just going to go back to the room and party. And they just so happened to see him. So, but so the story is from Keef D that Keef D, I don't know, he hands the gun, or the gun's in the back seat, and they give it to Big Dre in the back seat, DeAndre Smith. And DeAndre Smith responds with like real quick. You hear Keef D do it, and then Baby Lane's like, kind of give me that shit. Baby Lane reaches over and starts shooting. Keef D says that he sees Suge get hit in the head. He thought Suge was dead. When Suge
I don't think Suge even got hit. I think it was just
it was a skim. He definitely didn't. Oh, well, okay, yeah. See, I always thought it was
a graze. Yeah, I thought it was a graze.
The bullet didn't go into his head or anything like that.
But he's claiming that the bullet is still in his head.
Really? Oh, yeah. I never thought it went in. I thought like Charles said, it grazed.
Yeah, I honestly believe it wasn't. Yeah, there's a good chance of both. But it's like if it was a graze, that's how close the Shook came to being dead, just like Tupac. So it's kind of weird that it's a graze that people actually say that he was involved.
Yeah, I understand where people come from when they say that, but I always go back to that too. Like, and it wasn't like you had the Navy SEAL shooting here. You had Orlando Anderson, who was a capable guy, but he was no marksman. You know, he probably learned how to shoot on the street. You know, he didn't go through any kind of courses or whatever. But I don't want to jump around, but a lot of Puff Daddy questions. So one of you guys want to tell the story about Eric Zip or Eric
Zip Martin.
Zip Martin, please.
Zip Martin was a drug dealer out of New York. Okay. And Keef knew him because they dealt in PCP. Okay. And the word is allegedly what Keefe's saying is that Puffy was going to pay Keef and his crew $1 million to pull the hit on Tupac. And then this is where Zip comes in. They needed a weapon. Zip shows up in Vegas with the weapon in the Cadillac, which was in the console underneath. You know, you can open up the center console. You can pull out the tray and fit something down the side of it. That was the compartment that everybody was talking about. And I still don't, to this day, I can't say that Puffy actually hired them. I can't. Because with everything that we know that Baby Lane was known as a killer. Okay. And it was an embarrassment to him to get his ass whooped by all these Pyrus. So common sense tells you that it's going to be retaliation. Plain and simple. There's still no proof that. Go ahead.
Right. No, I was just going to say, plus also, if you look into the history of TPV and everything else, lately, sure, with the book and all that other stuff, he likes to talk. But back then, it was a different story. Yeah, he didn't want to snitch on people back before that when all this was going on and stuff. You know,
he did say that during Vlad's interview that he, you know, street code. I can't tell you who did what. And then years later, he comes out and says, Baby Lane. He said, if I'd have been sitting, yeah, see, and he even said, if I was the one in that passenger seat, I would have killed him myself. So
I believe that honestly.
I do too.
And
I do too.
He got the immunity, and that's when he started flapping his gums. You know, basically.
Yep. He was getting paid by Vlad. Big time to do all those interviews. And Mob James even said it. Loose lips. You get paid money just to talk shit, basically, is what it was going on.
Yeah, Mob James is like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Right.
Oh, man.
So watching the Greg Kading stuff, and he, you know, some people don't like him. He was a former what was it called? LAPD.
Yeah.
And he was in with the Biggie murder investigation and stuff like that. And he said that Keef D did a proffer. Keef D told everyone he had immunity. He said, you didn't have immunity, you have a proffer. Any statements you make about crimes you commit within the proffer, we can't use against you. But
it can't be talked about outside of where they were talking.
You can't go to YouTube. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I don't know, but they sat down with a U.S. attorney or whatever. But like, I encourage anyone that's into this, especially if you're our age and you were into this, go back, watch the Vlad interviews, look up Mob James, look up Keef D. And Keef D is more than happy to tell you everything you want to know about this night. Really. That's crazy.
I also thought that there's usually a federal clause and all the things that make you sign and stuff that basically tells you you're prevented from profiting, like the Son of Sam laws.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was taking money from Vlad also made the deal null and void too.
Yeah, that could be too, because it was a U.S. attorney that he was sitting with, you know, going over this. So yeah, that's absolutely possible. One of the things that Keef D says in an interview, and I've never seen this substantiated, maybe you have, or rebutted, is he thought Pac had a gun because he thought Pac was reaching for something. So I don't know if he took him like trying to jump in the back seat. People say he was trying to jump in the back seat. Keef D says he was trying to reach for something. Now, I don't know if that's some kind of lame attempt for a self-defense down the line, or if he really believed that. Have you guys heard that, or have you ever heard of a gun being found that was on?
I do recall that Keef D said that Tupac, when the shots were being fired, looked like he was trying to jump in the back seat to avoid getting hit.
Yeah.
I don't know about reaching for a gun, but he could definitely jump in the back seat. At least the trajectory of the bullets that are shown later on and stuff. So
All right. Yeah. So according to Reggie Wright and to Detective Kading, Buntry, who's Mob James's brother, who's now deceased, another victim of violent crime, returned fire. There's Keef D now. There's a couple pictures of him old. He just loves to talk, man. You watch the interview and you could tell. And Vlad will be like, in your book it says this. Then he holds his book up. Hey, it's $20. Buy my book or whatever.
He's been battling cancer for years. Keef D has.
Yeah. So is it a money thing, and is it someone's pushing him more and more? You know, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you come out and say this. I don't know. But in the end of the day, he gets himself indicted and eventually arrested here. The Compton PD knows. I want to shift from that kind of night to what happened after. The Compton PD knows almost immediately who killed Tupac.
Oh yeah.
Like a day later. Is that what you guys understand too?
Yeah, they already had the footage from the casino and everything by that point. So
they were more involved with the gang activities and all that stuff in LA. They knew how the gangs worked.
Yes. They knew that there was their guys out there from LA.
And Vegas wasn't really up on the gang activity back then because they didn't have that kind of problem.
And there's also a little theory with the Vegas police, and it's interesting. And if you guys remember, we're around roughly the same ages. There was a push for Las Vegas to become like a family place. If you remember the end of Casino, they talk about that a little bit. Like now Vegas has fireworks shows and goddamn this waterfalls and everything else. And they didn't want people to know that rappers were killing each other on the Vegas Strip.
They were trying to put a cloud over that is basically what was going on.
And but but at the end of the day, I don't think this changed anything. If you've ever been to Las Vegas, it's probably not a place for families or children. It's just, it is what it is. It's a blast, but like, I would never take my children there, me personally.
No,
unless they're playing basketball or sports or something like that, whatever. But
why not? Look at all the pretty lights. It's slot machines, man. They're lovely at night, though.
So roughly in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I don't have an exact count on the days, 3 people were killed, and there was 11 shootings that were based off this incident. Pyru versus Eastside. Yeah, Southside Crips.
They had a gang war going on for like 2 to 3 weeks after this incident took place.
And it was like, and it was on the streets. And what some of the cops say, Vlad TV does an interview too, if you want to look. There's 2, like they were gang cops. I forget what their names are. It's like a Spanish guy, and then there was like a white guy, and then later on the white guy dies, and he just does an interview with the Spanish guy, like more recent. And they said that all that their snitches were coming forward and saying, Baby Lane, Keef D, they killed Tupac, and these people are drug addicts and stuff like that, and they're looking for the golden ticket. Like, you give me this information, you can get high the rest of your life. We're never going to bother you again. And he said they were getting from multiple places. And there's also rumors too that Baby Lane used to talk about this openly. This is Orlando Anderson.
Yeah, bragged about it.
He bragged about it. They'd be playing cards and stuff, and a Tupac song would come on, and he would make a comment, and it's like, oh man, like, so. To me, do you guys think that Baby Lane's the shooter then? Or are you guys any up in the air on it? Charles?
I believe it is.
I always thought it was Orlando Anderson, to be honest.
Just like I said earlier, guys, I said I used to run with the Disciples back in the 90s, and I know how the gang activities work. You get jumped by another crew, retaliation is the name of the gang when it comes to gangs and all that. So always retaliation. Yeah. To set basically to save face is what it is. They're saving face. We got embarrassed. Now we got to get you to protect our whatever you want to call it, our reputations. Yeah.
Well, CJK, you're there for something. If you're reading her comment, them guys will put them naked girl cards in your hands and you don't even realize it. You're like a block away, like look in your hand, like what? How do you get that in there? If you guys ever been to Vegas, it's a fun time. Take a lot of money if you gamble. That's all I could say. But anyways, so this all spills back to Compton. Like everyone seems to know this. the Compton police are contacting Vegas. They're sending them everything they got. As we look back now, what we know is the Vegas police either didn't trust or believe the Compton police, or we were being told high up, like, hold on a second. We had a big fight and then there's a murder. And like, so could that be a conspiracy? Yeah, but I could understand that, but it's a murder. You know, do you guys think that the politicians maybe slow played this, or the upper brass of the police slow played this because of that aspect?
I believe that, like I said earlier, Vegas was unequipped to deal with gang violence back then because they didn't have that in Vegas. Like you said, it was a family town. People were there to go to do whatever, see fireworks, go gambling. I mean, prostitution and all that shit was going on back then. Well, it still does to this day, you know. But I don't think, like I said, Vegas was really equipped. They didn't have a gang unit. None of that. You know, I mean, what really showed me is when they allegedly found the murder weapon. Remember when they allegedly found the murder weapon and the LA tested it and said this is the actual gun that killed Tupac? Well, they sent the damn evidence to Vegas, and Vegas said, no, that's not the gun.
Wasn't that in someone's backyard or something?
Yeah, it was a dog. It was the dog in the yard.
Oh, yeah. The dog solved the case.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, the dog. Yeah. So, yeah, I think someone lived there, someone's girlfriend. They buried a gun. Someone moves, and then someone else moves in. The dog digs up a gun. They call the police.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Charles?
I think somebody already said it earlier that not only was Vegas unprepared for it, I don't think they wanted everybody to know what was going on. They didn't want to think gangbangers were out there shooting up at each other and all kinds of other stuff, and they were trying to keep it low as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And guys, this is Orlando Anderson. As we go through pictures, I guess I just have us playing in the background, pictures of Tupac. That's Orlando Anderson there. That's Keef D more recently, within the last few years, doing his interviews and stuff like that. So again, Keef D, Compton, Southside Crip. He's a big drug man back in the day, and he's Orlando Baby Lane Anderson's uncle. And he was with Puff Daddy and them. So you had the dynamic of Puff Daddy with Keef D and the Crips, and Suge Knight with Tupac. So that whole East Coast, West Coast war, if you were on the East Coast like me, and like I knew some of this, I knew what Bloods and Crips were because our town was Bloods. But I didn't know the dynamics of the music. So you had Tupac and the Bloods, and Puffy then like aligns himself with the Crips. And whether it was by design or not, to me, it almost was like eventually these two sides are going to clash. And I didn't know that, this was going to happen from it. But it's almost 30 years later, and we're still talking about it.
Yeah, Puffy's still not out. He's not going to get out of this. They're still looking at him as far as the hit, the money.
Yeah. Hit. So, what do you want to tell the story about Eric Zip Martin? What he did with the supposed $1 million?
Y'all are free about them. I find that story freaking hilarious. But
he opened a nightclub in New York, and Keef D, they wanted him to get Zip to talk, so they take Keef D out to New York to try to sell it, get him, basically give him a shipment of PCP to sell. Okay. Well, Zip at that time was real sick. He was dying of cancer. And I believe it was his nephew or his son that was running the club at the time before he died. But there's no proof of Puffy even paying $1 million. Like I said, Keefy's got loose lips. He could just be saying that to deflect the attention off of him. You know what I mean? Oh, what's paying on Puffy? He was the hired hit. But we don't have any proof of that.
And Keef D says the FBI told him this, and which is interesting. But that Vlad does an interview with that TK Kirkland comedian, and I guess he was roommates with Zip at some point, so he must be wild. And he starts laughing, telling a story, and he says, "Listen, he was a roommate," and he said the story goes, he didn't confirm it, that Puff gave $1 million after. There's a phone call made by Eric Zip Martin to Keef D. and says, "Hey, Puffy called me and asked, was that us?" And Keef D doesn't answer. There's silence, which means that's yes. And then he tells Puffy, hey, it was us. $1 million to Zip. Zip's supposed to take it and give it to Keef D, who's going to hack it up with, the Crips or whatever, or people in the car. And Zip Martin never gives it to him. Instead, he opens a nightclub, and they kind of try to like, hey, you better give me that. And, he's kind of like, fuck you. You know what I mean? I'm in New York. Come get me kind of stuff. And he was doing stuff in LA too, but it's a funny story if the guy did it. There's a lot of stories about the guy. Mike Tyson tells a story about Zip Martin where Don King comes to a room and he's trying to do something with Mike Tyson, and he has like $500,000, $600,000 in his bag. And he's like, now listen, let me give this to you. And Eric Zip Martin just pushing him out. Like, come on, he don't want to talk right now, but we'll get back with you. And he says, hold on, let me grab some of that money in that bag. Come on, push him out. And then he closes the door, and Mike Tyson's like, this isn't Mike Tyson's partying days, coke, knocking people out. He's like, you're crazy. What are we going to do? And he's like, man, call some girls up to the room right now. Let's go. We're going to have a party. But Mike Tyson's interview on Vlad TV, check that out. He tells that story about this guy, Zip.
Yeah, Zip was a crazy dude.
Yeah. And he was a big drug guy originally. That's where he got his power, right?
Yep. Yeah. The PC
I
trade.
believe if Puppy actually was dumb enough to hand him that money, then I believe the rest of the story. But I don't think Puppy would have done that.
See, Zip's dead now, so we didn't get no story from him.
Yeah. Zip never talked, huh? He was an OG.
Yep.
He took it to the grave. Whatever happened, he took it to the grave.
Whatever he knew, it went to the grave with him.
What's interesting about this Keef D trial that's coming up, again, we were talking, Charles. I don't know. I'm sure you knew. We mentioned it before. It's delayed for a year till next February now. And what's going to come out? Are they going to go to trial? Is Keef D, like Frank says, he's been sick, and he doesn't. I mean, jail is not outside, so I don't expect you to look great. But his appearances, he kind of looks worse and worse. He's a little. I don't know if he's trying to go for like the rain, like let me out, because he's like yelling at the judge. Have you seen stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, he was going to get bonded out, $750,000 in that record.
You want to tell that story, Frank? The
record producer put up the money for the bond, and they went to court, and the judge says, "I don't trust this guy."
Whack 100. No, another character in the story. These guys are hilarious.
Don't trust this guy. And it was a female judge. And she's like, I don't trust him. Nope, we're not using his money. We don't know if it's drug money. We don't know if it's blood money or what it is.
And there's a good chance that Whack 100 also committed perjury during that thing when they're like, are you sure that you don't have agreement? Do you bail him out? He's going to do a documentary with you. And he said, oh, no. That's not the case. And supposedly there's documents or something proving otherwise. So
right.
But it's just another crazy thing about this story. But if we do get to trial, do you think we will finally get the entire story? Do you think that the prosecutors in Vegas will lay it out? Or do you think we're not going to get to see a trial? What do you got? What's your guys' opinion? Charles, you first.
At least in Keef D's concern, I think he'll probably plea out or something like that and try to get another deal. So I don't think that'll probably go to trial, because if they do offer him something, he'll take it. But as far as the other supposed suspect, that's still up for grabs. Yeah, I'd like to see what evidence they have to put against Puppy, I guess.
For this,
because
okay.
All they got,
What do you think, Frank?
30.
I agree.
Oh, I'm sorry, Charles. You're not done. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. No,
I agree with Charles. He'll more than likely do a plea agreement if he don't die before then.
But I've already heard Puff Daddy has hired an extra lawyer. I'm sure everybody that's been paying attention also heard.
His attorney just left the case.
Oh, the death penalty one? Really?
Yeah, they already done dropped the case.
Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miranda
That's
just
not looking good. But yeah, it's a bad sign. I mean, I know there's I'd rather not get into that. There's a lot of other deaths also connected to that man, so I can't be sure if this is the specific one they're going for. So
who's the Delphi troll?
Delphi Trolls is, if I think it is, there's just a funny page.
Okay.
If not, they're free to say anything or enjoy the show. I don't mind. Have at it. Rocket's laying down some raps.
Yeah.
Who's it? Where's it from? Frank, Necessary Evil. First one to say it. What song's that from?
I'm trying to read
Come on.
It's so small.
Man, I know so many damn songs. I mean,
Think of Boston. Think of a video with the Larry Bird jersey.
Drop bombs. I got. Is that Hit 'Em Up?
No.
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 Hold on.
Larry Bird jersey in the video.
Hold on, I've got all of his songs
Larry
in here.
Bird jersey in the video. I oddly enough, I love a lot of Tupac
This is
songs,
nobody we're
so
talking
I'm probably
about.
gonna be mad. Yeah, I'm gonna be really mad at myself for missing this.
Hey, Frank Meister, you're a Big Ten fan. What's Wisconsin's hype song? When everybody loses their shit.
Dear Mama. It's Dear Mama.
No.
Yes. Look it up. Look it up.
I don't know what you looked up, but that's not it. I know the song.
Yeah,
The next line is just like the prodigal son I've returned. Anyone stepping to me, you'll get burned. They're a white rap group.
Oh, well, he already says House of Pain, so I saw that.
House of Pain, Jump Around. That's
I
from
know
Jump
they
Around.
Jump Around. I was about to say the only song I know by them is like Jump Around.
Jump Around. They had a couple other good songs. That's a good guess. The old Ice Cube remake, with DOS effects. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
All kind of
okay, I know that one too.
Being talked here.
Yeah, it took a while for me to get into
Free
hip-hop.
Spirits naming off these rap songs and gangster songs, and she's all into religion.
Yeah,
She knows them.
Get them
Excellent.
up. Get them up.
Yeah, Wisconsin plays that at the end of the third quarter. It's pretty cool. They go nuts out there.
My favorites, Hit 'Em Up and Dear Mama.
Personally,
I'm
a rock fan. And speaking of House of Pain, actually, Rockstar did come out of that group as well, if I remember correctly. I think Everlast.
Yeah, he changed his style up and was doing like like acoustic. I don't know what you want to call it. Like not a folk music, but yeah, he had some different stuff that he did. Yeah, yeah,
it's pretty good actually.
While we're talking, people in the chat and you guys, Frank said his were what? Dear Mama and Hit 'Em Up. Charles, you have a favorite or two Tupac song?
Oh yes, I do. It's a song called Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, yeah, that's from Machiavelli, right?
Yeah.
Every time I'm about to get in trouble, that's one of the songs I would play. Right.
Does anybody want to explain what Machiavelli is?
May I?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, back in the day, I think it was Greece, but I might be wrong. It could be Rome. So, don't jump me. There was a man that faked his death named Machiavelli or Marcavelli. Yeah, Marcavelli. And what happened was he had a bunch of people that were after him and a lot of enemies and everything else. So he fakes his death and comes back 7 years to the day, I think, or 7 years, 7 days, something like that, to the day and kills all his enemies and stuff, and then basically just stays alive after that. There's probably more, but yeah.
And if everybody even remembers, Machiavelli came out 7 years after Tupac's death. 7 years is when it all started with Machiavelli, and everybody thought, well, that's just Tupac using a different name.
I wish. Oh man, I would be so happy to find out that Tupac was alive somewhere. But
there was only two people that actually saw Tupac's deceased body, right? Was his mother and MC Hammer were the only two that actually seen him deceased.
Right. Like
they didn't have a funeral. They didn't have a funeral for him. He was cremated.
Because
hey guys, you might laugh and say MC Hammer, but MC Hammer was a serious individual.
Dude.
He punked Ice Cube, he punked Redman, but he had like legit hitters. But he was with Death Row. So when Frank says MC, I've never heard that story. When he says MC Hammer, I could totally believe that. But I just wanted to explain to you guys. MC Hammer.
He joined Death Row. Right.
You don't dog.
Yeah.
You don't dog MC Hammer, man. That man is one of the scariest rappers around.
I saw him in concert, dude. I seen him in concert in
Oh, that was
'91.
awesome.
You would never think that because like my mom liked MC Hammer. She got like that guy with the pants. I like him. His music's good. And we just thought he was like a dork. And then you find out like Hammer was he's a serious individual.
It's funny, and when these more serious acting or whatever and rapping people would call him out in songs, he would track them down and have like 30, 40,
Yes.
50 guys with him all over the place. Like Ice Cube be like, yo, what's up, MC? And he'd be like,
I was just kidding,
I'm
Hammer.
gonna give you
I'm just
one
joking.
chance. I'm gonna give you one chance to apologize, dog. And he's like, who are those people? Don't you worry about that. Just apologize. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's almost like Nas, if you have heard the stories of Nas.
With who? With Hammer?
Nas is another one of those ones that he seems lower on the totem pole than
Oh, he was
everybody
going to
else.
shoot
So you wouldn't
somebody.
think.
Who was he going to shoot?
Oh, yeah. Nas is crazy. Mm-hmm. He's a good guy now, but trust me, he had his dark days. It was in the club.
Yeah. So,
you guys ever listen to MC Hammer's "Break 'Em Off" something?
I don't know if I have. I bought his first tape, which was what was it called? It was like a picture of him with his glasses on. It was before You Can't Touch This, the album before that. Right. I don't know if that was Please Hammer, Don't Hurt Him or not, but Hammer and Master P. I never liked his music, but there's a quick story I'll tell you because Suge's on the screen where Master P has this problem with Suge Knight. There's some beef over something, and Suge Knight's like, "Hey, I heard you bought a house in California," and he's like, Master P's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I don't think this state's big enough for the two of us." And Master P, real calm, says, "Oh yeah, so when you moving?" And like Suge did nothing about it. Like his Master P's brothers, C Murder is literally in jail, been in jail for murder. So he was a real individual before he became a rapper.
You talk about "Let's Get It Started" as his very first album.
Yeah, Let's Get It Started. Oh yeah.
Wasn't I always thought not only I thought two of his brothers might have been in jail for at least severe crimes, or at least one was murdered, maybe two of them.
It's absolutely
the Shakur is also his brother. Yeah, I'm not sure what he was in prison for. Yeah, is also his brother. Not related to him. Mystical is a sexual assault. Basically.
Oh yeah.
So there was a lot of bad people connected to this. I personally love Master P though. In the South, we love that.
I do like Master P. Yeah.
I never loved their music when it was out. Wu-Tang right here. That was my group. That's my favorite group, the Wu-Tang Clan. 1993 when
Redman,
Redman,
Bone Thugs and Harmony.
I smoked a ton of pot with a bunch of friends to that first Redman album. It seemed like every song was about somehow it was about smoking weed at some point. There's Peggy making the Master P.
You know, Master P used to live here in Indiana, right?
No, when did he live there?
He played semi-pro ball in Fort Wayne basketball.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most of the time he spent his time in New Orleans, if I remember correctly, and he even played a little bit of professional stuff. I think with the Pelicans or something like that. He was in Indiana and California, and I think he was in Florida for a bit too.
Yeah, Percy Miller is his real name, Master P.
Yep.
But did you give us, Charles? Did you give us favorite Tupac song? Or you said one, right? Or did we start talking about someone's in the chat?
I have no idea.
Did you say Hail Mary, or was that someone in the chat that said that?
Yes. My favorite song personally is Hail Mary. I'm not going to say the lyrics because anybody that knows it understands why. But it's pretty
good. Great song though. Great song, absolutely. That was.
I love the song. The beat. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I would go to, and it was like it was my senior year in high school, and we had the tape. And I'm trying to think of what album it was on, but the song's called "Life Goes On," and it has like you have to look it up and play it tonight. It's like Tupac was once quoted to say, "Everyone wants to talk about my songs, like Hit 'Em Up or this or that. They don't want to talk about or mean songs. They don't want to talk about Dear Mama or Brenda's Not a Baby or things like that." Yeah, most of his songs really were like more like leaning like softer than Ambitions as a Rider and stuff like that. There were some songs that blew things out of the water.
Hello, Randy, and everybody. It's good to see you all.
Hey, Randy.
Yeah, that C murder case is kind of odd, dude, man. He killed a 16-year-old, and then in 2000, he got sentenced to life in prison in 2009, and then we had 2 witnesses that testified, and they recanted their stories that he actually killed the murder or committed the murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd never realized until Master P and them came out, then Lil Wayne and them later, like how goddamn crazy New Orleans is. I just thought TV, the French Quarter, you know, and you're like, holy shit, there's some shit going on down there.
Well, you know, Master P and them and his entourage were in the WCW for a long time as wrestlers.
Yeah. There's some funny stories about wrestlers and back scene stuff where somebody was having a problem with Master P or something. And I forget, I don't know if it was Booker T or someone came to the side and said, listen, bro, that dude has like 100 people that will kill you and your family. I'm not making it up. You just blow this off. You don't mean nothing by it. He's a nice guy. But some wrestler was going to like take Master P and say, hey, I got to talk to you, motherfucker. And then someone grabbed him. I think it was Booker. No, it was Stevie Ray. It was Stevie Ray who had known what he did. And he was like, hey, man, I can't remember who it was. It was a bigger guy. And he thought
Stevie Ray is Booker T's brother.
Yeah, Stevie Ray's
Booker T's brother, basically.
But I can't remember who this wrestler was, but this wrestler thought he was going to intimidate him. He's like, I got to let you know that you can't do that to him. Like they'll just kill you. Like they don't care.
I mean,
in the arena.
Booker T's got a prison.
And it was hilarious.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Also, do you remember who they actually teamed up with, Master P and all them? The actual wrestlers that they gave him to work with. If I remember correctly, it was little tiny Rey Mysterio.
Wow, Mysterio. Yeah, he's been around for
the smallest guy probably on the roster was the guy that they chose to work with all the rappers. With Master P and all.
What was you saying, Frank?
Stevie Ray or Booker T, he's a prison dude anyway. So he knows the rule.
He robbed like a bank or something or a store.
Yeah, he robbed a store.
Yeah. I've heard him talking about that. And he was, going down the wrong path and like found wrestling and,
No Limit Soldiers.
Yep, the No Limit Soldiers. They had the video.
Studio.
Remember the big tank in the video? They were dunking.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for No Limit Studios, the rappers wouldn't be making money like they are now. Because
Oscar Gutierrez is his real name. Oscar Gutierrez. Rey Mysterio. His real name is Oscar Gutierrez.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oscar Gutierrez. Yeah. I've seen him a few times with my kids. We would go down to watch a lot of wrestling like in my teenage years, but I took my kids like the John Cena era early on. So would go
Lord,
Pittsburgh.
I don't
you think about the actual
I still watch it to this day.
I was about to say
Friday.
Think of all the murders that we can connect just to wrestling alone.
Ooh, oh, yeah.
Well, there's an idea for a show.
That's what I'm saying.
We got Dino Bravo.
He was taken out by the Canadian mob.
Yeah.
I was about to say, that was a mob, wasn't it? He had
that was a mob.
Yeah.
100% it was. Yeah.
And then Jimmy Snuka killed his girlfriend.
Killed his girlfriend. That was in Pennsylvania here. Yeah, northeast corner of Pennsylvania.
Right, and he got convicted, I think, but then he died.
They never proved it was actually him that killed her.
Yeah, well, he was going to go to trial for it, but they didn't try him because he was so sick, and he died like 2 months later. Yeah,
and also the connection hasn't been made so much yet because it's something you got to kind of dig for. But anybody that's ever heard of the Boys in the Tracks murders out of Arkansas, there's actually a wrestler. Yes, Blackjack Haynes. He swears up and down that he was a witness and he was there the night the boys did.
Did he get charged in that case? Well, after we get done here, Charles, you gotta check that out because I thought I saw a video where they talked about. I don't know if he got charged in that case or something.
If it was very recent, I might not have heard about it yet. But
in the last couple of weeks, because I heard that story.
That is very interesting.
And he looks really bad now. But unless someone just had like a picture up to lure you in or something like that, because I didn't click on the video.
Oh, I tell you what. When it comes to these gangsters that are murdering stuff, that is something that I would never do is reach out to any of these fuckers to try to do an interview. Never, never, never.
Well, yeah, you could jam yourself up.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason
yeah.
some murders stay unsolved, and that's one of the ones you want to be careful around. That's all I got.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so real. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
No. I was just to say, anybody that knows the case will understand why. Maybe one day we'll cover it. Who knows?
And they came out with a new Tupac and Biggie thing on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix.
Mm.
So I just watched it a couple weeks ago.
I've recently found the Murder Raps YouTube page. They did the documentary like in 2015 or something, the original one. And then I watched some of the cop stuff. That Greg Kading has a page, and Vlad, anything Mob James I'm into. Because Mob James doesn't want to be called Mob James anymore. He wants to be called James because he's like, look, while he has all red on, he's like, I'm not Pyru anymore. Just I'm a guy, I can take care of my grandkids now or whatever. And yeah, he seems to does feel bad about some of the stuff, but the stories they tell, Frank and Charles, if you watch them, it's crazy how people lived and how people grew up.
Wow.
Well, Russell Poole, if it wasn't Russell Poole, Greg Kading would never have been on the case.
Yeah, yeah. And you can't hear from Russell Poole anymore, unfortunately.
No. He dropped dead right there in the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And personally, I'm from Florida, and anybody who knows about the rapper situation in Florida knows that it's insanity here.
Well, you
especially
have all
in the
these
Jacksonville area and all that.
These young kids are killing all, like today, like all over the place. You hear stories. There was a kid, I can't remember. My son was into
Tentacion. Tentacion.
Oh yeah, he got shot up in his car too.
So
yes, sir.
I would never pronounce it like that, but I think it has to be the guy. But he was real into his music, and I remember.
I think I'm close, but I might be slightly off. But I'm pretty sure that's.
I forget what I even called him, like the Xentian or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they walked right up to his car and just unloaded on him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I guess they wanted to rob him because he had I think it was like $15,000 to $30,000 in cash in him. I think it was like Miami or something, and they followed him to the sports place with the bikes and all that, and waited for him to come out and then unloaded on him.
Talking some rock now. Mustang says Metallica. If you get a chance, if you haven't seen the videos, and I think this was back in like maybe the mid to late 90s, the Metallica with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra or whatever they have out there, it's like the songs are like 10 minutes long. It's really, really awesome.
Four-Leaf Clover. Yeah, I love Four-Leaf Clover. That's one of my favorites.
I can say this much right now is that hip hop and gangster rap is nothing compared to what it was back in the 80s and 90s.
Oh no.
I don't like
not even close.
Not even
I mean,
close.
they got drill rap. They got what they call drill rap now. That's all around the world, and I guess it's its own thing. And it's all right. It's okay. Have any of y'all heard of what's his name? And the serial killer guy that was a rapper. I think he's got like about 10 bodies on him, or almost 10.
King Von.
Yes, King Von. Yes,
there's King Von from Chicago.
From Block O. Yeah, from Block O.
I would argue too. Yeah, I would argue that you could probably consider him a serial killer because a lot of the kills weren't necessarily for profit.
He was enjoying it.
Over like a personal
he liked it.
gripe or beef. He certainly was enjoying it. Yeah, King Von. And he killed a girl or something.
King Von is from Chicago.
But video all this.
Yeah, in my opinion, he had a bit of a. I'm sorry.
King Von is from Chicago, and he was had ties with the Disciples.
The Black Gangster Disciples, or something like that.
The Black Nation Disciples.
He killed how many?
Yeah, something like that. I think it's 7 to possible 10.
Wow.
He got a kick out of a God complex, is what most people believe, because often he would find people and then give them a chance to run. Like, I'm going to get you. I'll give you a chance to run. And then he'd chase him a little bit.
Or maybe
do like a Jason Voorhees.
Scared.
Yeah.
He liked to see him scared.
He just liked being able to control. Yeah, there's like a guy named Doug and a bunch of other people that literally this guy, the superstar rapper King Von, was right there, like 8 feet away, as this guy had like 6 guns unloaded into him.
Oh yeah, he got his though. Somebody took his ass out too.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by the. Yeah. No, Dirt. Well, that's a lot of people. Yeah, he's involved, but I think he met up and tried to get in the face with no gun with another rapper, like Migos or something like that. I think somebody like that. I'm not exactly sure which one, but the security or someone that was around that rapper pulled the gun and shot Vaughn. And people want to like Vaughn, but he went out pretty vocal and pretty. He wasn't such a god, apparently.
Yeah,
you can find the video if you want to really look for it. It's
there's a bunch of stuff on the rapper guys, and like I said, what we talked about tonight, Vlad's videos, Keef D. You can look up any Keef D. Mob James is a good guy, and you'll start seeing there's other people that were around that at the time. BG Knockout. They'll tell you here's stories about Easy.
Oh, BG Knockout, yeah, man, he was real knockout back then, though. When he was with.
Then he did that real motherfucking G's.
Yes.
Easy. Easy was he was awesome.
Timothy Leaks is the one who killed Vaughn.
Oh, Timothy, that is
Timothy Leaks.
I knew he. I wasn't sure on the name or whatnot, but I don't think he's like a rapper or anything. But I think he's just a relative or a friend. Yeah. I'm not sure of who Vaughn was trying to mess with that night, but that's who I think might have been a rapper. That happened to be wasn't it Atlanta, I think?
I'm not sure. I'm not up on the new ones that much. You'd say the names, I've heard them, but Miss P's favorite is the Delphi Dummies Choo Choo song.
Oh, God.
Obviously,
let's not go there. Let's just not go there.
Getting back to what we were talking about Tupac, and I know it's going to be a weird thing to bring up or whatever, because the last thing I remember anybody saying was the fact that only 2 people saw Tupac's dead body. I'm not sure if you guys have or not, but I'm not sure if it's real. But have y'all seen the photo? That I'm pretty sure you understand what I say by the photo.
Yeah, the autopsy.
If you haven't, I'm about to. Yeah. I think it's real. It looks real to me. It's pretty messed up.
Well, I mean, it kind of looks real to me, but I'm kind of skeptical because the facial features in that photo it doesn't look like Tupac to me.
Right. It's a little bit off, so I've always
right.
That's why I brought it up in the first place. I wanted to ask y'all's opinions on it.
Yeah, that photo came out on Rotten years ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there was what was that other site? There was a site that had all that crazy stuff. I saw the video.
Oh, there's
they took it down since then, maybe like 5 years ago.
Something.gore.com is another one. Yeah. I know there's something.gore.com, there's rotten.com.
Let me ask you guys this. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that any of the LAPD was working for Suge Knight? Like Ralphie Perez?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Like he had kind of cops on the payroll to help him out. Yeah.
Since you don't bring up the murders or anything like that, sure. I can actually say that he's got to have at least one on the tape, so I can agree with that. Yeah, I'll tell you.
Remember?
No, that's not it.
And then you got Muhammad.
Oh, right. Oh, that guy. Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Muhammad.
He always seems very suspicious.
You're going back to the 80s now, Misty.
Muhammad was one of the ones that, well before you had a lot of details on this case, he just didn't sit right with me for a long time. But, I couldn't connect him to anything.
And this guy, Muhammad, he was just what was he, an insurance broker or was he a real estate agent? I can't remember.
I do believe he was a real estate agent because there was this weird thing involving somebody's wife, and I'm not sure if it was or somebody else's. Yeah, okay, you know what I'm talking about. All right, that was hilarious. Yeah.
For you.
Oh, and this lady was big too. I'm like, what? It was crazy.
But I like how they tricked. I like how they tricked Suge's wife at the time.
Ooh.
In the restaurant on her confessions on who killed who. Tricked her ass.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny stories connected to all this. A lot of them.
Man, I'm going to go back and start watching shit when I get off here.
Yeah, me too.
I know.
Listen, I think this is a good time to wrap it up. I would definitely like to do this again about Tupac, another one, because we could definitely do more. Also
yeah,
about
there's still
Biggie
a lot.
and
Hey.
the wrestling thing. I never thought of that before.
Oh,
like,
dude.
About the like the murders, not like the unfortunate, steroid heart attacks stuff, things like that, but like physically guys that were murdered. And it's happened. Women, the whole 9 yards. So
look at about Brody. Remember Brody?
Bruiser Brody, yeah.
Bruiser, he was stabbed by the promoters down in was it Cuba? I thought it was Cuba.
Yeah, it was Cuba. Yeah, it is.
Or Puerto Rico. Right. Yeah, Cuba or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I think it was Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I think it was Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Tony Atlas talks about that a lot. Tony Atlas.
Yep. Yes, sir. He was there.
He got a subpoena, but it was like a month after the trial was over or something.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I felt so horrible for Tony Atlas. Tony Atlas cried like
he sit there and witnessed the whole damn thing.
Yeah. He couldn't do that.
He held Bruiser in his arms as Bruiser died, and the ambulance couldn't get through to him. It was sad.
And they would have killed him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In a second. They would have killed him.
They told him to keep his mouth shut because he knew all along who did it, but he had no choice but to be quiet.
No.
Yep.
Well, hey, I think this is a good time to wrap it up. So let's certainly in the future, let's do this again. Let's do Biggie if you want, or spiral off on your own, or however you want to do it. I think it's good stuff. But the wrestling thing, I like to come back with you two guys because I know that you guys are both in the wrestling, and then that time frame. There's a lot there, isn't there?
I'm not sure if you.
There is a lot.
Back in the '90s, I actually trained in professional wrestling.
Frank told me that.
That's crazy because here in Florida, since we had FCW here, I took a year and a half's worth of training with one of I forget, out of Texas. I forget his name. I'll tell you later. But,
I was trained
the family of wrestlers.
I was trained by Bobo Brazil Jr. and Kamala Jr. and we were all part of the WCCW. That's what we were.
Yeah, I went to the Dory. It was Dory Funk's School of Wrestling or whatnot, which is
that's cool.
the part of the FCW.
Awesome.
Exactly. It was like a big family kind of.
Let me tell you something. It's not as cush as you think it is. I'm telling you.
It's
all choreographed, but the bumps are real as can be.
I bet. I never took one, but I hear the stories. I believe the guys, man. Guys, look at them at the end. Look at the end of their lives. They're all, most crippled or can't even walk. So all
hyped up on painkillers and amphetamines and all kinds of other stuff.
He's had both knee replacements, both hip replacements.
How many back surgeries? Everything else. Yeah. You guys are
Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake. Oh Lord.
Oh, he was a big crackhead.
Oh
yeah, he was there was that old documentary of him. But anyway, we could go on for hours, but thank you so much, guys. Let's definitely do this again. I remind you at 9, Hidden True Crime, gonna have the Becky Patty interview. I think it's recorded, but I'm not sure. But check that out if you can. Follow Charles here, Necessary Evil. Follow Frank Meister. I'm sure everyone probably does both already. Check them out. I thank both of you guys for coming on and doing. We call this Tupac Part 1. Where we kind of lay everything out.
Anytime,
maybe
you guys.
More in depth next time. So
love all y'all. You guys are great. So
any parting words? Any parting words, Frank?
Hit them up.
Hit them up, Charles.
I guess I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, everybody. I appreciate it greatly. And thanks to everyone in the chat. Great chat tonight. I love you all. Frank and Charles, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes,
and we're going to leave it at that. Say Coach Kev out.
Peace out.
Happy
Good night, y'all.